Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Sasquatch Watch Radio with your hosts, Billy Willard and the Blog Squatcher. Strap in, hold on tight, get ready, because it is about to go down.
There are men and women who devote their time to look for a being, a creature roaming the forests of the world. What has convinced them that something's out there? Some put their heart and soul to the search of a being called Bigfoot or Sasquatch. You are listening to Sasquatch Watch Radio, hosted by Billy Willard of Sasquatch Watch in Virginia. We talk to the men and women in this search, hear their stories, hear their adventures, hear the witnesses as they share their experiences with you. Every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, here on Blog Talk Radio, we have guests that will intrigue your thinking. What are people seeing in the forests of the world? What are they? Are they undiscovered apes? Are they human? Or are people misidentifying a known animal? Sightings of these beings date back to centuries ago. Why are they so elusive? Why can't they be found? Police officers, government officials, doctors, and other people in professional fields are among those who have seen something strange in the forests. Tune in, listen to their stories, and you decide on Sasquatch Watch Radio. Here is your host, Billy Willard. Everyone, welcome to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is Monday, October 26, 2009. We have a wonderful guest lined up for us tonight, as we'll get him on here in just a few minutes. We've got Mr. Dave Dragosin from Pennsylvania. He's with the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society. We'll have him on shortly. But first, without further ado, I want to get my wonderful new co-host on the air, Mr. Mike Killen. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Hey, Billy, how are you tonight?
Doing just fine. I know with the new job now, you're doing a time crunch again, right?
Yeah. back to the grind, nose to the grindstone, as it were, and once again down to just a few short hours after I'm home from work. You do the work thing. I usually eat dinner, and then, you got a couple of hours between time you're done with dinner and, time you go to bed to take care of a few things. And,
yep.
I'm finding out after 7+ months of having all day to do things, you kind of, you kind of get used to that and kind of develop a philosophy. Well, I'll do this now and I'll put something else off till later. Well, there is no more putting stuff off now, you know what I mean? You got
right.
that little narrow window after dinner and before bed, and you got to squeeze this, that, and that in. And I'm finding that a bit of a challenge. But yeah, I'll readjust. It's just not having that for such a stretch there. You kind of
it's
get
tough,
used
but you'll get it.
Yeah.
All right, let me see. This may be our guest here. Let me find out here and log him in. Is this Dave? Is that you on the line?
Well, this is the elusive one called Listen
Oh,
In here.
hey.
But,
Hey,
like
Elusive. How you
I'm
doing,
doing good.
man?
I'm doing good, you guys.
Congrats on the newborn, man.
Hey, I'd like to say thank you very much, Billy. It means a lot, and we're all happy here. He was born this past Friday, the 23rd, at 2:36 in the morning, and 7 pounds, 2 ounces, 20 inches long. So we're hoping for brown eyes, but he got some light coloration on the hair, and really appreciate that. And we're all happy. Thank you very much.
Hey.
That's right. Now you have to get him teached now. You got to get him, learn how to get out there in the woods.
Well, yeah, exactly. As soon as his eyes adjust, he'll be looking at possible Bigfoot pictures and watching movies with Dad here. So that's the first thing on my.
Oh man!
The sooner the better. And I about that, and I was thinking about Ohio, and I can't wait to get back out to the next conference out there in Ohio and do some more squatching with everybody that we meet out there. It's a good time, and we made a lot of friends, including you and Eric Altman out there. And I hold you guys close to my heart, and I'd like to say thanks for all the congratulations out there to everybody who has congratulated us.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, not a problem. Yeah, we're looking forward to the Ohio trip as always. We always do every year.
Oh yeah. Well, other than that, that's I just called to listen in, and you guys got a great guest lined up. So if you want to put me back on mute, that'd be great. And if I have a question, right, I'll cue the host key, and then we can take it from there.
All right. Thank you, Abe.
Thank you, Billy.
All right. I believe this is our friend, Mr. Dave Dragosin from Pennsylvania. Is this you, Dave?
Coming in loud and clear, am I or not?
There you are. How you doing tonight, Dave?
I'm fine, Bill. I'm fine, Mike. I'm glad everybody is in tune and the mechanics are working well.
That's right. So far, so good.
Hey, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. I was thinking of you the other day when we had some cold weather come in, and I thought, oh, boy, I wish Mike was around here right now. He'd be yanking his little flannel slippers out of the back of the closet in hopes of all of this cold weather back here. And, it's going to be a cold one. The indicators are the red squirrels. I saw 3 of them taking an electric blanket up in the holes of their trees the other day because they wanted to take electric blanket up there so they make sure they keep their nuts warm for the winter, So it's going to be a cold one, you guys.
The telltale orange cord gives it away, right? Running right down the side of the tree.
You got it, my man. You got it.
Well, I would put a meter out there somewhere and charge them.
They're getting their AC somehow. I don't know where they're getting it from, but they're getting it. So what's happening with you guys?
Show. Oh well, we're here to hear from you, Dave, because we understand you've had a lot of excitement here past few months with PBS has gotten quite a few sightings this year.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know what to attribute it to, but it started somewhere around I don't know, the beginning or mid-July, and boom, 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 boom across the Chestnut Ridge it happened, and glad we were available to talk to these people as quickly as we did.
Yeah, and the great thing is for everyone that's listening into the show tonight, and especially for those who are in the chat room, you're all in for a treat because Dave has provided me with some of the sketches and artwork that he has done based on witness recollection, and we have those sketches available for everyone to see tonight. And what we're going to do is we will, as he's discussing certain ones, we're going to put a direct link to those sketches in the chat room so that everybody can check it out. So that should be pretty exciting.
I'm glad that worked out kind of well. Even last minute notice, I was so doggone busy over the weekend and this morning, but it seems like everything is copacetic. So I'm hoping they can understand by looking at the drawings and understand a little bit better as to the scenario. And that's what I like to do best as far as the witness relating to me, what they've seen, et cetera, and knock on wood, it's been very productive as far as me turning out some decent-looking facsimiles of what the heck they saw, to the point where a lot of them will step back after a few minutes and almost in a gasped sort of way say, "Oh yeah, that's it." So knock on wood, Bill. It's been worth it, and I'm glad I was able to accompany Eric and Stan and a few of the others on some of these, because every day when we do that, it's a learning experience. And you know how it is when you go out in the woods each day. It's a little bit more, you can put underneath the cap.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, Dave, there could be some folks in here that maybe don't know who you are. Maybe this is the first time they've heard of you. So just give everybody a brief overview of who you are and what got you started in this.
I began as a kid when Argosy came out, and I was just enthralled, and I was like a deer in the headlights when I saw that front page of Argosy and frame 352 with Patty. Ever since then, I've been interested in the mystique of the forest people. Having a talk show back in the 70s and 80s at WMBS at Uniontown, I was able to have people such as Stan Gordon and work with people like Doc Johnson as far as all of the sightings in and around the Uniontown area. So I have been active independently up until about 6-7 years ago when I joined the PBS, and since then I have been as active as I could as far as my entire family, as far as that's concerned too. And now I'm sharing the assistant director duties with Dave Rupert, who's in Central PA, Earl, our buddy Earl, in Eastern PA, and I'm in Western PA as far as helping out our buddy Earl.
Get her done.
That's right. Good old buddy Earl. I don't know. I go on and on because the years have been kind and have been full. I'm married, 37 years, and 4 children, and 2 grandchildren who live with me. So they've all been part of expeditions too throughout the years, and I'm happy to say they've enjoyed it probably as much as I have. Yeah.
That's good. Make it a family thing. It's just another way to spend time together with the family, and what better way to do it but to go out into the wilderness and enjoy the forest.
I think so. And having a background in communication has helped out tremendously too, as far as helping out with any press coverage for the PBS with Eric, and having a minor in art certainly helped out in college as far as what I'm able to do now. And also I had some speech pathology and audiology courses, which of course keep me interested in some of the Stan Courtney and other recordings that you folks have come up with over the years. And I'm thinking, well, I certainly know how some sounds should be made, and I can kind of sort them out on my own as far as the phonetic alphabet is concerned, and knowing a little bit about phonetics and audiology and pathology. So that's it in a nutshell.
That's good. Good deal. What that does is just helps us to see, where you're coming from. So that's some great stuff. Now, before we start talking about some of the recent stuff that you've been working on, I'm gonna check in with Mike and see if Mike has anything that he wants to ask you before we get into it.
Fire away.
Right now, no, Billy. Actually, I figured I'd listen to a little bit of what Dave has to say, and I'm probably come up with a question or two a little bit later in the show. I know, like you said, Dave's been quite busy. I talked to Eric a couple of times, and PA is just exploding with the sightings. So I'm interested to hear what he's been up to. I'm sure he's been very busy.
All right.
Yep.
Well, where do you want to start at, Dave? We've got, I think I've got 3 sketches that you sent me. So you tell me where you want to start.
The one sketch, unfortunately, from July the 10th, right in Uniontown proper, at 6:10 in the evening, by our first witness that really started this, how can I say it, almost a spree of the same type of creatures that have been seen from July through September. And I mean that in such that what seems to be similar among the creatures that various people have seen either atop Chestnut Ridge or along the bottom is that there's no iris or pupil to the eyes. They seem to be coal black. and it's filling the entire eye socket, which is why when the listeners have a chance to get to the sketches, they will see that all of the sketches that show the full face have no pupils or irises. And I find it kind of intriguing, especially the one atop Chestnut Ridge. Oh, I guess it occurred sometime in August, and the creature looked very similar to that of the comparison sketch I sent you of Robert W. Morgan's audio book 10, 15 years ago that came out, and it's almost like, gee whiz, is the gene strain that strong from the northwest part of USA and British Columbia all the way down into Pennsylvania? I don't know,
Right.
but as soon as I started drawing the face, as the witness began to instruct me as to what she saw, I looked at Eric and I said, "Hey, Eric, I've seen this before." I said, "This is the front piece of Robert W. Morgan's audio book and his other book that he had." And sure enough, with the exception of the pupils and the irises, it's almost an exact replica of that, Bill.
Right. Now, I think that's the one that I hadn't got from you, correct? That sketch you're talking about.
Is that the comparison sketch?
Is that the one? Because the only one I have are the one that's called Jumonville.
Okay, Jumonville.
Okay. Got
Okay.
Fayette County.
Okay.
And then I've got the one called Sabine River, which is that Texas one.
Okay.
That's the only three that I've got here.
Okay. Well, then apparently you didn't get the let's see, the one that shows my preliminary rough sketch on site, and then the picture of Morgan's book. But nevertheless, those who are familiar with that will understand it's almost, and we can get it to you eventually, and you can post it later for verification. But
Right.
I started drawing this, and I'm going, I've seen this before. I've seen this somewhere before, and sure enough, it's almost an exact replica.
Wow.
That's
That's great.
It's amazing.
That's real good. Good deal.
I don't know. I hate to really reiterate too doggone much because each story is so detailed and original in the sense that the one occurred almost in broad daylight in the middle of town. I mean, it was 2 blocks from where I used to live when I worked at the radio station in Uniontown. And this lady says it came right up from the hollow and took off across, the road, jumping over the back of her car and taking off toward Jumonville. And when you look on the map, I'm thinking, well, it's only a few air miles, believe it or not, from where back in the 70s the big brouhaha came about with Bigfoot and the UFOs at the Pooch Kowalczyk farm, which is the big question mark as far as UFOs, Bigfoot, and the tracer bullets being fired and going right through the bodies of the creatures. And it's like I'm saying, it's this whole area in the bottomland of Chestnut Ridge to the west, headed toward Uniontown and out toward Pittsburgh in a northward direction, is kind of crazy. I mean, I have my atlas in front of me, and it looks like a busy pushpin settlement as far as where all these creatures have been. Honest to goodness, yeah.
See, I remember that sighting now. That's the sighting that came into Sasquatch Watch of Virginia, and
Okay.
I sent that over to Eric.
That's
because
right.
I don't know why, but she sent it. She sent it by I think she clicked on the link and put it through our submission through the website. As soon as I saw it, I was like, wait a minute, that's Pennsylvania. So I called Eric and gave him all the information, and he got in touch with her, I guess. So
she was fortunate that her husband had an inkling as to what to do and where to go because, first of all, she had no idea what she saw. She was not an aficionado, or she wasn't interested in this at all. And that was the furthest thing from her mind when she saw it as to what it could possibly be. And when she explained it to her son and her husband, they began to put 2 and 2 together, and they thought it could be a squatch. So that's why it came your way when he brought your link up.
Right. Well, that's good. But again, that I think one thing that we should point out about that's the beauty of being able to network with all the groups.
Exactly.
Because I know you guys. Of course, I'm a member of PBS as well.
Mm-hmm.
But just the close networking that we all have. I mean, when we have something come into the East Coast, we figure out where it's at. We have relationships where we can just get in touch with somebody right away, and and get on them quick. And I think
That's right.
it's important.
That veil of
that's great.
The veil of secrecy, which unfortunately is upheld between many of the other groups across the nation, I think is worthless, useless as far as I'm concerned. Whereas, yes, there is a good understanding between your group, the PBS, what's his name, Don out in near Cambridge, Ohio, and so on, Keating. And it's like, okay, we're going to share in order to possibly go further. And I think that was, if you recall, brought up at our last conference that we had, as far as don't be afraid to share the information, because you'll be surprised as to what could possibly turn out in the long run.
Right. That's right. Great stuff. Well, let's. These people are anxious to see a sketch, so which one should we start with?
How about that one up by Fabrizi's restaurant?
All right.
That would be atop Chestnut Ridge near Jumonville. Now, Jumonville is a French name, and it has to do with, of course, the early battles being fought with George Washington and Jumonville at that peak of Chestnut Ridge. And it is now a Methodist training camp, a religious training camp. But this whole area along the ridge, both in a north and south direction, over the years historically has been noted to be hot as far as sightings are concerned. As a matter of fact, if anybody has an atlas out and you look at the Youghiogheny River as it flows from Confluence towards Connellsville, excuse me, there's a location there that says Indian Creek Station and Indian Creek. That is the first Chestnut Ridge and Pennsylvania sighting historically documented. So apparently this could be a hotbed of entertainment for, the forest people and their future generations.
Right. Now, in this particular sketch, and I hope I've got the right one up, in this particular sketch, you can see in the background where it looks like you've drawn an actual road sign.
Exactly.
Right
that
behind
is
the creature.
That's the creature that looks quite similar to the frontispiece of Robert W. Morgan's audio book and his published book.
Okay.
The creature is actually turning towards the left as the young lady in a blue Murata convertible drove by him at about 2 o'clock in the morning. He was actually walking in the same lane of traffic that she was driving, and she went around him, and as she looked, she saw what she thought was a gentleman in some kind of a hairy coat, and he was not going to move for her. She stayed in the oncoming lane, and he turned around and looked directly into her windshield, and she was frightened to death because she thought then, well, this is somebody in a Halloween costume. Is he going to pull a gun on me? And then she realized this was a real creature of some sort, especially with the eyes, the way it looked at her. And she, of course, proceeded down the road away from him. But what was also interesting was there was corroboration with another person. Unfortunately, she did not have a chance to talk with them because she noticed as she went around this creature, there was an automobile that had just pulled off the road ahead of her. And they must have been frightened by it as they were approaching it. And it would have been great to have some kind of validation with other people. You know how that can be. Just the mere fact that you're out there with your son or somebody, and they say, "Oh yeah, I saw it too, Dad." That kind of helps out the whole scenario. Right.
This particular creature, in looking at it, I see where you would describe the eyes, how there was no pupe, was all black in the eyes.
Right.
So now apparently it must have shown its teeth somewhat.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
There was like an upturned grimace in the left portion of its upper lip. That's what she noted too, as far as detail is concerned. Built like a tall. I said, is it more like a professional basketball player or professional football player? She said, oh, definitely a tall football player. It was built very well, very much.
Right.
So, that was about the extent of it. Other than, of course, her entire state of fright. She had no idea what she was seeing. And again, another person, Bill and Mike, as far as them having no concept whatsoever, not an inkling of or an iota of belief that something like that could exist in this area, let alone, you know, the mystique of Bigfoot being here in Pennsylvania. Never crossed their minds.
Right. Yeah, it's you know, it's so this thing. What? And I might have missed it. What time was this? Was this daytime or night?
She's coming home from work on the National Highway, Route 40, headed toward Uniontown. She hangs right on the Jumonville Road, headed toward her place of residence at the bottom of Jumonville Road. And this is at 2 o'clock, and it's, you know, completely dark there, with the exception of what little bit of light maybe as far as a parking lot light in the restaurant. But I'll tell you what, it was... it's a dark road, put it that way. It's a very dark road up there. You're talking the very top ridge of the Chestnut Ridge. My brother-in-law's family has a junkyard behind the cross. The Methodist Training Center has a huge icon at the very peak of the hill, which is a white cement cross. And behind that cross is their junkyard. And I was very honest with them. Many times I says, you mean to tell me you guys have never seen anything edgy? And he says, and they mentioned, you know, many times they thought they've seen a cougar or what have you, but no, they've never seen anything as far as a Squatch is concerned. I've been invited to, you know, sit up in the property and bring people with me, but it's a situation where I've not had the opportunity to do so yet. But they've lived there for 3 generations and never saw anything like that. And of course, they know me as being a clown somewhat as far as my humor is concerned, and being on the radio, they knew, you know, how sarcastic I can be and dry as far as, and simple and silly, and they did not even bat an eye as far as Dave's asking a stupid question. They knew I was serious when I asked it, and they returned a very honest answer and said, no, they've never seen anything on the edge up there. So, you know, some people, what can I say? Some people see it and some people don't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know, you know, again, back on the sketch, you can see a lot of the typical things that we hear about. I mean, obviously the sketch appears as if the thing, you know, virtually has no neck.
Mm-hmm.
Like the head is just situated right on top of the body.
Mm-hmm.
So we, you know, that's a typical character. You know, we see that there's no hair or limited hair around the, you know, the bottom of the eyes and the nose and around the mouth.
She emphasized the fact that facial skin in her headlights looked very, very light, almost white. And that, of course, correlates with the sighting earlier in Uniontown on July the 10th with the witness that contacted you, and my sketch that I had turned over to Stan Gordon, which she said the face was totally white.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, that's an interesting one. I tell you, that area, I've been into that area, so I know where you're talking about. That's definitely has always been an interesting area to me too.
Oh yeah.
As you know, I went up there with Eric and me and Sean and a couple other guys were kind of in that area. You know where the trailer park area is at over there, by the railroad tracks. That's a pretty interesting area.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. I mean, well, that would be more toward the dairy area, and this is, you know, we're south of that, but still that whole ridge, Bill.
Yeah.
And then I talked with other people, our friend Dennis Calisti and his wife, and you go over to the Laurel Ridge, one ridge over, and it's like not much is happening there. So maybe it's the food, the flora, the fauna. It might be a little different, and you know, this just might be a restaurant row for them. Who knows?
Oh yeah. Well, let's get our first caller on the line. I know who this is. This is Mr. Henry May down in Mississippi. How you doing tonight, Henry?
Doing just fine. I got Bill Green with me too.
Hey, Henry and Bill, how are you? This is Dave.
Hello, Dave.
I'm doing great.
I just wanted to say, first of all, I enjoyed last night's Monster Quest. I don't know if y'all got to see it or not, but it was pretty good. Wasn't great, but it was pretty good. I liked it.
I haven't watched it yet. I recorded it on my DVR, so it was a 2-hour special, and I had to run around taking the kids to work, so I've got it recorded. So I get a chance, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask Dave about the reports in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. are you familiar with those reports? I've asked Eric Altman and Stan Gordon about those. And are there any recent reports from Bucks County?
Over in Bucks County?
Right.
Well, that's not out of my jurisdiction, but we do have Earl Dundor over there, along with Kelly Beverly and Kurt, as far as the PBS is concerned. But I am not up on, other than, of course, the reports that come in via emails from Eric, I am not up and savvy on exactly what has gone down out there, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I mean, that's like totally out on the other side of the state, Henry.
And what is your opinion of the reports from, I think it was Westmoreland County from the 70s, where there was, some unusual activity going on, like Bigfoot, UFOs, things of that nature? I know Stan Gordon looked into that quite extensively.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, the UFO and Bigfoot story was reiterated to me by the person who owned the farm, George Pooch Kowalczyk, one night when we were together planning a Battle of the Bands in the summer, my probably third year at WMBS Radio, and he brought me to MC the event and look over the area that he'd like to stage it, and all of a sudden we're at this park, and he just went like, I don't know, like it's like a deer in the headlights, and I said, "What's the matter, Pooch?" And he said, "It was like this that night that it happened, Dave." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he began to tell me. I never heard the story, and he reiterated it as though it was happening then and there. I mean, it was so vivid in his mind. And the state police coming in, or state police man coming in, I should say, and the whole how can I put it? The whole scenario, even afterwards, of them going to Greensburg and having to speak with what they thought were government people, and also, believe it or not, the Diocese of Greensburg sent a couple of people down simply because they thought there might be some area of concern in that when they fired the bullets, it went right through the bodies of these creatures, and they thought maybe demonology or a demon was present, et cetera, et cetera. So it really has some deep, deep details, Henry, that whole story.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no question about it. Okay, I'm sure Bill has some questions to ask, and he's chomping at the bit, so go ahead, Bill.
All right, I was going to ask you, do you have video of possible evidence or even glimpses of Pennsylvania Sasquatch creatures?
Okay, I only caught, did we ever have any kind of evidence about Pennsylvania Sasquatch?
Yeah, videos of possible Pennsylvania Sasquatches or evidence.
No, I don't believe anybody in our group or anybody that I've spoken to as a witness has ever been able to either get a photograph and or any kind of moving images, video images of a creature that is unknown or that they've determined to be a possible Sasquatch. Not to my knowledge, Bill.
Oh. But, I mean, do you have like evidence that you recently found that you have on video?
Well, we've had a series of impressions, depressions in the soil that could possibly be. I know the area that we're going to be moving to in my next reiteration of a couple of sightings on top of Chestnut Ridge. A couple of years before, I went up there with one of our PBS members. You're probably familiar and have met Tim Cassidy before. Tim and I went up and we did some searching on our own and found some interesting depressions in the soil and also a couple of stick stacks and some branches that had been twisted. So, the norm that most everybody sees, of course, apparently has occurred all along the ridge in that Jumonville area east of Uniontown.
Yeah. I got one more question. With all these sightings near the various towns of where these creatures are being seen, do you think that they would have at least cams or cameras in those towns, that would maybe catch a glimpse of something that maybe the townspeople maybe covered up for personal reasons or something?
I don't think so. I don't. I think that idea or that theory may exist a little further back in some remote areas, back in the woods, so to speak, quote unquote, where people are maybe have habituated with them for maybe a couple of generations in their family, and they want to keep it a secret. But I'll be honest with you. I know I know some of the people in Uniontown, and I doubt very much, hell, as far as they probably want to grab their rifles and shotguns as opposed to trying to keep it a secret.
Yeah.
But okay, hey Billy, what's new up in Virginia about Bigfoot?
Here comes a standard question.
Nothing, Bill. Dave and Eric's hogging it all up in Pennsylvania. I think they put up like some kind of big 20,000-foot chain link fence or something, and they can't get down here. I don't know.
Yeah, hey Billy, weren't you interviewed recently for a news station or something like that? Is that gonna be on this week or is that next week? Or?
Yeah, that was the West Virginia PBS. Supposed to be airing at 9 p.m. Thursday evening.
Oh, okay.
But my understanding is it'll only air in West Virginia on the PBS station there. But that's okay because she is going to send me the YouTube link. They're going to YouTube it, and once they YouTube it, then I'll be able to attach it to my Facebook and website that way.
Oh, that'd be neat.
So that won't be a problem. It'll be available sometime Thursday night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, what's new in upstate New York about Bigfoot footprints, yada, yada, yada?
Well, Bill, we just actually were on expedition a couple of weeks ago, and, as far as report-wise, the last report I heard that there was a road crossing sighting, I believe, at the end of August, up around Indian Lake, New York, off of Route 30 or 28.
Yeah.
They're both in that area, one of those. But around the Indian Lake area. But we were on an expedition a couple of weeks ago, and we're actually going to be doing a show about that tomorrow, Bill. The show I do with Bob, and you'll be wanting to check out the pictures. We got an interesting couple of pictures to post there. Not too much to report. Found a very interesting tree stump, or what was left of what used to be a tree. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And found a possible tree marker maybe, and a possible X, and got some wood knocks recorded. But other than that, no tracks, no definitive sighting. Although one of the people that's going to be on our show, that was on our team in the field, had a possible sighting. He saw a shadow, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. But that's about the update. All I can give you as far as that goes, Bill.
Okay, I got one more question for.
By the way, Bill, JC says you can't ask Mike that question tomorrow night because you asked it tonight.
Oh, blow, JC. I'll tell him. But I got one more question for all three of you guys. Basically, do you guys think that there's some sort of migrational pattern or travel route that these creatures take through Virginia, Pennsylvania, and surrounding states?
What do you think, Dave?
I'm just speculating. I kind of think that these families or tribe units are kind of migratory only when need be, and for a short period of time if food happens to be short, and or they're out maybe looking for a mate. I'll be honest with you. I think they seem to habitualize a certain area and maybe saunter miles north, south, east, or west whenever the need be. And that's my personal opinion.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I basically think pretty much the same thing. I mean, I think they do, if you want to use the word migrate, I don't know if that's really the proper term. When you think of animals that migrate, birds that fly south for the winter, you're talking that they're going hundreds and thousands of miles sometimes, multiple states away. I tend to think they have a home range, a home territory, and that territory could be, many square miles, and I believe they'll move around inside of this home territory or home range, no matter how many square miles it is. And I think they seasonally follow, berries and fruits, whatever's, growing certain times of the year. There's growing seasons for certain things, and when it's not an area, I believe they'll move to a different part of their territory, and maybe the fish are running at one time of the season, and the fruit is another. And I don't really think they migrate 3 and 4 states away. I kind of think they stay within a state, or maybe if they're right on the border, straddling one state to another, maybe they cross a few miles into another state, if it's on a borderline kind of thing. But I don't think they migrate hundreds of thousands of miles, no.
I did know that, definitely.
Yeah, I have to say I do the same. I've always believed these things have, just a home range, and just agreeing with Mike, we don't know how large that home range is. I think that's something important for us to learn, because if we can figure that home range out, it may assist us in finding out where the home is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think there's any kind of a mass migration such as going from Pennsylvania down to Florida or vice versa. I think it's the simple reason. I think the migration theory first came across when people were noticing sightings in different areas, kind of in a line. People started putting stuff on a map,
mm-hmm.
and I believe we started theorizing that maybe there was some type of a travel. But I kind of apply that more towards when people are actually out. We have a lot of sighting reports come in the springtime, and a lot of times in the late summer. I think it's just when people are just out.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're out and they may have a sighting, and that's because there's been sightings in the fall and winter. But of course they're fewer, and that's just simply because people don't go out walking around in the woods in cold weather.
That's true.
Except for us crazy people.
Yeah, really. All right, guys. I guess that's it for our questions. I think Bill's pretty much.
Thanks for answering.
Yeah.
Thanks, Henry. Thanks, Bill.
Sure, no problem. No problem, guys.
Bye.
Y'all take care.
Keep on squatching.
All right. Good night.
Bye.
Good night, guys.
Mike, I know you've been sitting on a question over there, so we're going to let you get to that.
Yeah, I figured we'd let Henry and Bill finish up, being that they're on the phone. I didn't want to jump in the middle there, but yeah, we had a question ways back from WV Big, and let's see, he had asked any recent Fayette or Greene County sightings.
I'm trying to think. Greene County.
Yeah, Fayette or Greene County, he's asking.
Fayette, yes, but Greene County, I have to say the only thing I can attribute to Greene County was a gentleman who lived in the Hopwood Cool Spring area as a kid, grew up in the Uniontown area, and moved over to Dry Tavern, which is in Greene County, and he wants to talk with me before he's got a couple of friends, and he said, Dave, you got to talk with them before they pass away, because one of his buddies, I guess, did pass away, and they've got some tales to tell. And I'm looking at my cryptic notes here about, tree shaking, tree knocking, waking up the family from sleeping along the Hopwood Cool Spring Ridge area. Rock throwing, cries, and also the first time he ever heard anything was when he had been toward Laurel Caverns. Now, that would be south of Jumonville along the ridge, and they were up there just camping out, and he said he not only heard the wood knocking, rock throwing, and cries like a woman and a baby, but also some gibberish. Now, that's the first one I've heard around here ever say they've heard that, and I'm likening it to what is commonly known as the that ninja audio recording, and you know what I'm talking about. It almost sounds like someone talking backwards is what he explained to me.
Yeah,
so,
the air sounds, yeah.
Other than that, though, nothing in Greene County per se, and I'm looking at my Greene County map, and there's not too much that has happened that has been reported, with the exception of down around the Monview roller rink skating area and in Carmichael's in Greene County, and that's been some time back.
All right. Was that all that was over there, Mike?
That's the only question I saw, yeah. I'm looking back up. I don't see any other questions. Hopefully they got them in all caps. I might have missed one if it's not caps, but I don't see one, no.
All right. Well, I took a vote in the chat room, and everybody wants me to answer the Skype caller. So everybody went for the vote, so we're going to go ahead and do it. I'll give you fair warning, Dave. Sometimes the Skype callers catch us by surprise, so
Okay.
Hear any vulgar language, I apologize.
No problem with me. Believe me, having some experience in the talk show business, I'm very well aware how that can be. Although I don't have a 7-second delay here, Billy.
Just hover your finger over the hang-up button. That's all, Billy.
All right, Skype caller, you're on the line.
Hey, that's quite an introduction.
Oh, well, good God, I better hang this up fast.
I told you it'd be a prank. What did I tell you?
Well, I just wanted to say hello to who are the hosts of the show again?
Good God.
All right. Well,
Dave, I'm putting you up to going up there. You're closest to him there in Pennsylvania, or I don't know, Mike. You might be close to him too. I have to take a trip to Boston.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm closer. It's still a bit of a ride.
Well, Dave was talking about the Chestnut Ridge, and I was just out there this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty remote area.
Oh yeah. Especially the Dunbar area. I mean, there used to be a whole lot of stills going on there, and the federal holidays used to come up there quite a bit as far as the shiners were concerned. I mean, there was some.
The what?
The moonshine going on years ago.
Okay, moonshiners. I guess Irish would. I think Irish would know about that.
Yeah.
No, that was moonshine, not green beer.
He's pretty partial to his spirits, and I'm
there
not
you
talking
go.
paranormal.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Now, there are some very remote areas. You're doggone right.
Well, we I'd gone out with Eric and Spooky Tim and Pat and Earl Dundor, and it was really I'd never squatched in Pennsylvania before, and so when you look at the map, you don't realize just how remote some of those places can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just really amazed at how much area there is just not inhabited.
Nothing. Yes, exactly.
I think part of the sort of myth is that the Northeast is all inhabited, and everyone knows every square inch of forest out here, and there's nothing could be further from the truth. I think
that's exactly right.
Well, now, we had walked along these power line paths that run out through the park, and I guess there have been a series of sightings of hunters and people who are deer spotting, seeing these creatures either walking along those power line trails or cutting across them. And even the road to get to them is pretty. If you don't have a four-wheel drive, it's almost inaccessible when it's really, really muddy. You'd mentioned you had done some research out there, Dave. Can you tell me what your research was?
In what?
In the Chestnut Ridge?
Usually anywhere from the Derry area, which is where I really was introduced to the ridge with the PBS, and then coming back down southward to where I worked, lived, and hunted and fished for the early part of my radio career in the Fayette County, Jumonville area, going all the way over to Somerset. So you're talking like the southern portion of the ridge as it crosses over into West Virginia. Research didn't even exist in my mind. If I would have known what to look for 30 years ago when I was out in the woods, man, I'm telling you what, I could have had a database of information probably longer than my leg, easily. So,
how tall are you, Dave?
I'm 6'1", so
right,
it would have been a long database. Believe me.
I didn't know how long your leg was. That's why I asked.
It hasn't shortened since then either. Boy. But I've hunted from, if you're familiar with the Jan Clements story, whether that's true or not, I've hunted from Wimp's Gap and Lako Woods down around the corner of West Virginia and Pennsylvania, along the ridge, all the way up into the Derry area. So, and I'm talking east and west too, in the lowlands and the highlands too. So, I'm quite familiar with the entire area.
All right.
Never have I ever seen anything. I know that's going to be a question maybe later on. I have never ever seen something that I couldn't explain, and maybe sometimes I'm glad I don't get what I wish and pray for.
Well, Dave, I got to ask you a question, and in all seriousness, when I was out there, a group of us, we were staking out this area, and there, we were looking for some evidence of activity, but in our attempt to solve one mystery, we uncovered another, and that is there were strange lights in that area, and Eric Altman probably can best describe what he saw, because I didn't quite see what he saw, but I know that the group I was with, we witnessed these lights that look like they could have been fireflies, but it's too late in the season for fireflies. Have you ever seen or encountered anything like that before in that area?
No, I can't say that I have, unfortunately.
It was the strangest thing, and I can't explain what those lights were, but
I can tell you something I experienced recently, and we haven't moved to that story yet as far as a sighting. But if you guys have the opportunity to get digital TV with Comcast, they have these little programs that are kind of like, it was called Bigfoot, and I happened to go into one of the Bigfoot encounters, and a woman said something on the digital program, and I just stopped dead in my tracks watching it, and I hollered for my wife to come down, because what she said is exactly what Cindy and I heard when we were out with Eric recently, and we heard what sounded like a poor imitation of a peacock that went 180 degrees around us in probably, faster than any bird could fly. And it was answered. It was as though it was answered. It started in the south. It moved to the southwest. It skipped the due west direction, and it went to the northwest, north, and northeast. And it was like this peacock like I say, a poor imitation, but this bird whistle it freaked me out. It really did. And I usually doesn't bother me. I said, Cindy, did you hear that? She says, what was that? That was a bad bird imitation. I said, it certainly was. But this was after we had heard wood knocks, too. So, but I've never seen any lights. I've heard some strange sounds.
Well, it's one of those things. I've heard of ghost lights. I don't really believe in them. But I am positive we saw these flickering lights, and they were just they looked exactly like fireflies, but I mean there are no fireflies this time of year, and everyone in the group saw them. So it's just
wow.
Weird.
Did anybody spike your steak sauce that you used on your steak?
No, although we did go to Ponderosa.
Ah.
Everyone had fun at my expense once again at the Ponderosa.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
You didn't break the chair while you were there, right?
I didn't, but I'm glad you brought that up, because we did have a chair malfunction, and Eric Altman was the person who experienced that chair malfunction. So when you see him next, don't forget to mention that.
We'll do that.
But we heard some what could have been wood knocks, but the problem was it was raining. There was like 15, 20 mile an hour winds, and so when you have conditions like that, it's just too loud to really be sure what you've heard.
Yeah.
And none of the wood knocks that we heard, or I'll just say none of the wood knocks that I heard, I could definitely say they were wood knocks versus just the trees banging against each other in the wind. There was what was it? It was so Friday night. It was pouring rain. We went out there, and it was loud. And we decided to stay. Me, Dave, and there was a reporter who was with us, and the three of us decided to sort of stay late after everyone else had left. And we heard what sounded like something walking in the woods. I heard something rustling with a regular gait, almost like something walking through the leaves, but had a regular gait. It wasn't a quick gait like a deer would have, and it wasn't a rustling like a rabbit or something scampering through the leaves. It seemed like it was bipedal, and it was very regular, and I heard it just sort of briefly. But what was really frustrating is that we didn't see anything.
I doubt if anything of a human nature would have been out in the woods Friday night in the rain that we had around here in southwestern Pennsylvania, or even central PA. No way. Nope.
And then Saturday night we stayed out, and there was a dead deer carcass down there, and I think it had been shot, and for whatever reason it was just never discovered by the hunter. And that dead deer was there the whole weekend. Nothing touched it. No predators. The only thing that we saw that was sort of trying to get at the deer was this crow that flew away as we walked down the trail, and you could see where the crow had sort of, tried to pluck out some of the hair. But crows they don't have any silverware, so kind of out of luck.
Wait a minute. I got some relatives that are crows that have some silverware. What are you talking about?
But it was pretty interesting, and we always have a good time when we go out. But it was that area seemed like it would have a lot of promise.
It does. And
supposedly, talking to Eric and Dave, they said that area has had a lot of activity historically, and they've just had a lot of sightings in and around just that area that we were in. And unfortunately, we didn't really experience anything that we could definitely say was activity. I do think that's a pretty cool area down there.
I'm somewhat of a firm believer, if that makes any sense, of many areas, the remote areas along the ridge being ones that I had spoken of earlier, in that I think there are probably families and generations of families that want to keep the whereabouts and the habitat of these forest people quiet.
What do you mean, Dave?
I'm saying that they're probably very well aware of where they live and how they come to take their crops, their garbage, whatever it is, and they just don't want the public to know about where these creatures are.
That could be. I mean, just in the time that we were out there, and we were out there pretty late, there were a lot of people just driving down, and this road it's a pretty bad road. It was, Billy, it was on the order of, the road that we took to get to Dolly Sods. The only thing it had going for it was that it was level. There weren't any hills we had to climb. It was all pretty level, but the road was pretty bad.
Okay.
And we saw a fair amount of cars down there when we shouldn't really have seen any. There were, we saw several cars down there. And even while we were there squatching, several cars pulled up, and I think they were spotting or something.
I wouldn't doubt that. It's Friday night football action. You've got archery season, small games starting to come up. You've got guys that are anxious and itchy for whitetail hunting. So I don't doubt that one bit that there could be some action in the woods a little bit more than what you would normally expect.
Now, Dave, do you know Pat and Earl Dundor?
Sure.
Okay, so he is a pretty brave guy, and I'll tell you why. So we show up, to this area where, there are a lot of hunters and it's hunting season, and he shows up with a hat with turkey feathers sticking out the side of it.
What's your point?
That's Earl.
What's your point? That's Earl.
And I said, Earl, that's a bummer of a hat bling you got there, because it is hunting season. And he wasn't really affected by it. He's like, yeah, whatever.
Yep.
And we were all wearing, vests. These bright orange vests, but still, I mean, the guy's wearing like a hat with turkey feathers sticking out of it. I didn't want to put my chair next to him because.
Well, I wouldn't put my chair next to him when he wears his raccoon coat. I'll tell you that, because that's too much. That's going over the edge. I'm sorry, Earl.
But Earl's a good.
Yeah,
Earl's
especially you got to worry Bruce when he gets down on all fours and starts walking around. Then it's time to leave.
Well, you know what? The only thing he needed to sort of finish off that outfit was red ascot and make gobbling noises. I think he would.
Here.
He would be right now. He would have been mounted on someone's wall.
Bruce. Bruce, you kind of went in a completely different direction than when I originally thought you were going to go. When you first said that Earl is a brave guy. I thought you were going to say, that he whipped out a steak and was dangling it in front of you on the exposition, because that would be pretty brave. Any man that gets between Bruce and a steak, I'll take my hat off to him.
Yeah. I actually had steak twice last weekend.
Good for you.
Yeah. At the Ponderosa, and I guess that's Dave Rupert's hangout. He goes there all the time. That's why we get along so well.
See, that's the reason why Bruce noticed that nothing had messed with that deer, because he was thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, Dave was talking about, because we hadn't really experienced a lot of activity, so Dave was like, I should just open up this deer and let the smell. And I was thinking, maybe that's not such a great idea. Because I don't want to. What about predators like bears? No, I like animals, but I can't cozy up to a bear.
You're worried about a bear? You're not worried about Bigfoot coming after you?
I'm not worried about Bigfoot. I'm worried about people. It wasn't a Bigfoot that stole the stereo out of my truck a couple years ago. It's people you got to worry about.
Well, you know what? Up along the ridge one night when we were doing some call blasting, there was a gentleman who showed up with his wife that after he had left, we thought he was really just trying to cover up his sang and his weed patch as far as him making money and him wanting us to get the hell out of there. So, yes, you do have to be careful sometimes that you don't walk into somebody's ginseng or weed patch, believe me.
What's that called? Ginseng? Ginseng?
Ginseng. Sang.
Oh,
that's
okay.
That's the root that is grown for profit, along with the weed that is grown for profit too.
Yeah, I actually both Dave and Eric mentioned that for some reason people like to grow their stash in these state parks.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
And they don't take kindly to people, and they don't believe you if you said, "Oh, I'm here looking for Bigfoot," they'll be like, "Yeah," and then they
right.
Yeah, you've been smoking some of my weed.
But yeah, so it can be really dangerous out there. Believe it or not.
You bet.
And the second night, so we had the reporter girl come out with us the first night, and we saw these what looked like hair fibers. Now there's a clearing out there, and there's an area where there were a bunch of pine trees, and they were not very tall pine trees, maybe 5-6 feet, but the tops were broken off, and they were bent, but they weren't ripped off. They were just broken, like someone would break, an antenna or something on a car,
Yeah, right. Yeah, I saw the pictures.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So I don't know. They extracted some hair samples, and we're just gonna see if those turn up anything.
Mhm.
Eric also put out some sort of black licorice scented cotton pads.
Mhm.
See if that would. He said some nut told him that you can't mess with those. You wouldn't happen to know who that person would be, would you, Dave?
What's that again?
So he said some nut told him about these black licorice scented.
You're not talking about anise, are you? Anise oil?
They said it smells like black licorice.
Well, very similar to black licorice,
Yeah.
yes, but it's much more strong.
What's
stronger.
it called again?
Anise oil. ANISE. Anise
all right.
oil. It's used to make.
I'm glad you spelled that, Dave.
It's used to make quite a few Italian-style cookies, by the way, like pizzelles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he put those out to see if that would pull anything in, and we didn't really. It wasn't that as successful as we would have hoped. So between the deer carcass, and the anise oil, nothing was coming in.
Well, it's a hit and miss type thing when you go out there and you look for it.
Yeah.
Guaranteed, if you go out and just to enjoy yourself and hiking, they'll find you.
Well, that's Dave and I actually we talked extensively about the fact that there's a lot of forest out there, and just to think that a creature is just going to happen to stumble into your the 100 square feet of forest that you've staked out is kind of it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. So
better believe it.
We thought maybe the next time we'd go out and grill stuff.
There you go.
And let the scent waft through the forest. And and I'm always up for grilling stuff, so I had no problem with that. Bring a couple of ribeyes.
Yes.
We know.
How is that different from any other trip you've ever taken, Bruce? I think I think he's got a hibachi and a cooler packed with center cuts and sirloins and New York strips every time he goes out.
That's some serious business.
You know what? It might work, right? I don't know if there's a Bigfoot out there, but I always eat well on these expeditions, so that's why I go on these expeditions.
I just mentioned about 10 minutes ago, the gentleman called me who lives now in Greene County and grew up in Fayette County, and that's exactly what happened on their first experience near Laurel Caverns on top of Chestnut Ridge when they were just out there with a bunch of friends grilling and having a good time. They weren't hunting. They weren't doing anything other than just sitting around a campfire, grilling, cooking, and that's when they experienced the wood knocking, the cries, the growling, and the gibberish, and the rock throwing. So they were just, they were being natural.
Well, Eric had some recordings that he did. He did a little bit of call blasting with. Unfortunately, it wasn't really loud enough. One was a recording of a baby crying.
Yep.
And the first thing I thought to myself is, I thought Willard said he couldn't be here.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, Dave. It was nice meeting you, and it was just kind of neat that you talked about the Chestnut Ridge, and I got to experience it firsthand out there, and that's a pretty neat area. And I agree with Eric and Dave. I think there's a lot of potential out there.
I do too.
Yep.
All right, talk to you guys later. Great show, guys.
Good night, Bruce. Okay, Mike, we got time to cut to a quick commercial break real quick, and then we'll come right back. And Dave, can you hold on?
I sure will.
All right. Mike, you okay over there?
Yep, and when we come back, there was a question or two. I got one from the chat and one via PM here, so I got a couple questions when we get back.
Fine.
All
Okay,
right.
see you on the other.
Right.
See you on the flip side.
Yep, we'll be right back.
Okay.
Sasquatch Watch Radio. Stay tuned. Paranormal Talk Radio, bi-monthly, Wednesday nights, 8 to 9 p.m. Central. Paranormal Talk Radio divas Melissa Hovey and Monica Rollins, never afraid to tell it like it is. Too hot for prime time. 60 minutes of take no shit, grab you by the balls. Paranormal Talk Radio. 8 to 9 p.m. Central, every other Wednesday night on Blog Talk Radio. Paranormal Talk Radio with an attitude.
We hope you're enjoying the show. If you get a chance, visit the Sasquatch Watch of Virginia website. It can be found at www.sasquatchwatch.net. Sasquatch Watch of Virginia is a Bigfoot and Wildlife Scientific Field Research Association. We conduct field investigations and field research within areas of reported encounters. Our friendly research methods do not strive to harm or kill any wildlife. We seek to be cooperative and not hurtful to any person or groups or to any public or private organizations. Feel free to visit our website. Have you had a sighting of a creature? Then feel free to call our hotline to submit your encounter. Our hotline can be reached at 703-445-4287. And remember, we specialize in sightings here in the state of Virginia. Or you can report your encounter at our website under the tab Report Your Encounter. We will make certain that someone gets in touch with you. And please enjoy your visit to our website. Again, it is www.sasquatchwatch.net. You're listening to Sasquatch Watch Radio on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Welcome back, everyone. Still got Dave and Mike on the line.
Yep, I'm here.
I'm here.
All right, cool deal. All right, Mike, get to them questions. I think you got.
Okay. All right. I had one in the chat and I had one in the PM. Let me get to the one in the chat here. Where was that? Move this out of the way. Okay. This is a question from Spin Dave, and he says, how do you characterize the reaction of Bigfoot to wood knocking and coal blasting? He says, note, just because you get a response does not mean it is positive.
Well, I wouldn't know what the hell they're talking about when they're knocking, I'll be honest with you. I don't mean to be a smart ass, but I'm just answering the best I know how.
Right.
I took Morse code as a Boy Scout, but that's probably nowhere near the knocking I'm hearing in the woods.
Right.
How do I reactionize? Is that what the question was?
I'll read it again. He says, how do you characterize the reaction of Bigfoot to wood knocking or coal blasting? Note, just because you get a response does not mean it's positive. I guess what he's trying to say is, how do you know if you've wood knocked or coal blasted and a few minutes later or 15 minutes later, whatever it is, if you get a vocalization or a knockback? I guess what he's trying to say is, how do you know that is in relation to what you did and not just that they just decided to do it? You know what I mean? I guess.
You remember the first time you're out with a girl and you really don't know what to do, but you keep trying it anyhow, okay? That's what I liken this to, wood knocking and coal blasting, because there's no book that's written on this. It's almost as though you got to feel for the moment and roll with the flow. I don't know how else I can better put it. And I've done coal blasting, I've done wood knocking, I've even whooped with my human voice and tried other sorts of calls too and whistled, but it's just, I guess I'm moved by the moment, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, fair enough. I think that's perfectly fine answer, and hopefully that answers his question. Other question here was a PM, and this question was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you, but they stole my thunder here. That's all right. I got another question for you anyway. But this question is, and I was curious about this, but I have another one for you anyway. The question is, how many official sighting reports have there been in PA in 2009? If you know, what would you say is the
I have what I'm trying to think here. This was sent out on Thursday, September the 10th, and I'm thinking there were 29 at that time, and we were still missing some from the Confluence, Somerset area, one that Stan Gordon had called us about, and then this last one along the ridge. I think we're probably in the low 30s as far as the number of sightings so far in PA this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a contrast as to the couple of years prior.
Exactly, and as well as I do, Eric is the one that first gets these calls. And if there's anybody that's going to look at a cup half empty and really smell out a hoax, it's going to be Eric, as far as any of us is concerned. I'll give them a benefit of the doubt over Eric anytime, but he's the one that will really say, hey, I really feel that this is worth looking into. I'll never forget a couple times on these most recent ones in Fayette County, he's been pretty hot to trot to get to the witness, and I have to commend him for it because he read them right, as far as I'm concerned, as far as being credible, and believable, and validated.
Right.
Okay. That's all the questions that I see. Oh, wait, somebody just posted one just now, and then I have one of my own. Spin Dave, again, just posted this just now. He says, is the dog-like Bigfoot ever seen in PA?
Oh, boy, yeah. That's a question that my buddy, who mixes sound for a lot of professional ball clubs like the Pirates and the Penguins, the Steelers, and this happened to him probably 12 years ago when he was going to mix sound for a Penn State game. And once again, he's crossing Chestnut Ridge, and it's late in the afternoon, early in the evening, and an early fall game on a Friday night, and he's leaving to go get to Penn State before the game and set up and so on and so forth. And he's crossing the ridge, and he looks out his passenger side window. There's something running alongside of him at the same speed that he is going in his car, and it looks to him with glowing red eyes. It scares the hell out of him because he said it looked like some kind of a monster. And when he gassed the car to get away from it, he said he looked in his rearview mirror, and all he could see was in 2 leaps it crossed over the road to the other lane and into the woods on that side, and the first thing that came to his mind was werewolf because of the way the lats were formed on its back. He was able to see the muscle undulation and so on and so forth. And that's the guy that has kept his story to himself for 10 years. And so I was working with him up in Edinburgh doing an AV-IT installation, and I was talking to my other installer that day, and he said, I was talking about, he knew I'm a clown. He knows I'm a clown, so a lot of things I guess I was saying prior to this particular time of the afternoon in a conference room, I'm talking about Bigfoot and Sasquatch to my other installer, not directing it to my buddy Steve. And when I said something about they've been clocked somewhere between 25 and 27 miles per hour bipedally, he came up out of his chair and he said, have they ever been clocked quadrupedally? And I said, yeah. I said, estimates are somewhere like twice that, around 45 to 47 miles per hour. Well, he reiterated his story to me that he kept within himself for 10 years. I'll bet you 23 to 25 times by the time we drove from Edinburgh to New Stanton, PA, where he dropped me off. It had been on his mind and on his conscience ever since, and he was afraid to tell anybody. So that's the only dogman story that I can accredit to like a second person or a second party as far as my experiences are concerned.
Wow.
Okay. We just had 2 more questions posted right after Spin Dave had that question. There was one right after it, next line, and then there's another one a little further down. Shadow Girl asked, when will the sightings be posted? I guess, the sightings that the PBS is working on.
That would probably be up to Eric and our web mistress.
Okay.
All right.
And
I can't determine that or even give them a ballpark idea.
Okay. Fair enough. You only answer what you know.
Yeah.
And Jim Footigas, what's that old saying? I'm trying to think of that. What's that saying? It's better to be silent than to speak out of turn and put foot in mouth or something and prove it. Like that. What's that saying? Something like that. It's basically better to be quiet than make a fool of yourself.
You got it.
I'm terrible with the phrasing. I don't exactly know how to phrase, but you get the picture. Jim Footigas here. He just said, was that in Penn State somewhere? And I assume he's referring to the dog-like Bigfoot.
No, that was in right outside of Blairsville, headed east on Route 22. I don't know what township that would be, but as you proceed up to the very crest of the ridge at the highest elevation point and proceed a mile or two along Route 22, it used to be right next to, as a matter of fact, he said it wasn't far from what was the old go-go bar up there. I think it's still there, but the new highway bypasses it now. But he was on Old 22. This was like 12 years ago. So.
Okay.
Be careful. Be careful, Dave. Don't be talking about go-go bars and stuff. You'll get JC excited in the chat room.
Okay.
As if JC needs any encouragement.
Right.
Okay. Oh yeah, there we go. Thank you, Slam. Yeah, I couldn't quite get the wording right. Slam just gave me the saying. Better to be quiet and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. I knew words to that effect. Just couldn't get them off of my. Couldn't recall them.
Hey, Bill. With regard to the other sketches that I had sent you, and of course you can tell the listeners where they can find them as far as my reference is concerned. But moving on to the one where we can see like 7.2 air miles all the way on to the windmills above Cranberry Glade Lake on top of Jumonville. That sighting right there where the young lady and her daughter watched this creature cross over the gas well area, a distance of maybe 40, 50 yards away from them. That is where we got an impression. We heard wood knocks. We heard that crazy peacock whistle. And then also the next day when we went back, we found a dead pig. And there's no farms up there on top of the ridge, I can tell you that.
Wow.
We found a dead pig on Saturday. Pardon?
Is that the sketch that's called Fayette County?
I believe so. There's a gas well right in the forefront of the picture or the sketch.
Oh no, I'll post it in the chat. I think that's the one you're talking about. I'll post the link, and then I'll open it up here. See if I can take a look, see what I see.
Well, the gal we saw was her. You find it?
I'm not sure. This is just a top view from the shoulders up to the head.
Oh no, that's in Dunbar, and that was the one where the elderly woman had seen a little one, and this one in her blackberry patches. She came into the yard area of the old homestead, and the little adolescent one took off in one direction, and the big one that's shown there was actually stuck in the blackberry jaggers and had a rough time getting out to run from her. And God bless her, she's 65 years old. She went back to her sister waiting in the car, and all she said to her sister was, "I think there's some rather strange-looking people stealing our blackberries." And she knew immediately what she saw. And I also wanted to comment that when they were kids, before the house burned down at that location in Dunbar, at nights they used to sit out in the back porch in the summertime, and they used to wonder, what are those strange baby cries and women's screams coming from the mountains?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one here, the first thing that catches my eye on it is this one doesn't appear to have that, that we always hear about that conical shaped head.
Yes.
This one's more of a rounded type
exactly.
head, but again, we have no hair around the eyes and nose and above the mouth.
Very similar to the other ones, yes.
Yep. So, interesting. And I think the other sketch that I have is the one that you drew of the Texas sighting.
Oh, okay. That's on the East Sabine River with the hog hunter.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one. And
I'm just starting to draw the hogs in the bottom forefront of the picture. Come to think of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's, you see the hunter in the tree stand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was it this creature was up on a limb?
Yeah, this is that notable sighting that the BFRO had out years ago, and this is my interpretation of basically what went down when the hunter went up into a tree after baiting this area for hogs, which he had returned from his stint in the service, and he went back to an old hunting area, and he baited, went up into his tree, and in a little while heard the hogs coming upstream, upriver, and out of the corner of his eye he saw this whatever move from tree to tree. And that's when he observed it in his scope, and he realized that it was something he's never seen before. And it jumped out of the tree, and in 2 leaps on top of one of the hogs, it smacked it up against a tree, ran over to the bewildered hog and pummeled it to death, stood up as the rest of the hogs beat the hell out of there, and just gave a couple of whoops, and sure enough, from 2 different directions, it was answered with a whoop from 2 different directions. And it bent down, picked up the hog, put it under its arm, turned around, and that's when he saw that it was a female, and that's when she kind of just raised her upper lip and gave him like a snarl, like, screw you, I got this, and walked away defiantly.
Yeah.
He said he stayed up in the tree for 30 minutes, and somewhere around 30 minutes, and did not get out until he felt safe, and I don't know whether he's ever returned back to that area or not.
Right. Yeah, that's always been one of my favorite sighting reports.
Yep.
So, very cool, very cool. I think Mike's got some more questions in the chat.
Yeah, we just had a question just posted there, and I actually had a question for Dave myself as well.
Sure.
Go for it.
Sure.
All right. I was going to ask Dave, back in the summer of 2008, NESRA did a joint expedition with the PBS in north central Pennsylvania. And Billy was there, and I was there, and Tom was there, and we were out with Kurt Strauss as well. And I believe we had something going on there. If you remember, Billy, we had that weird kind of a grumbling, growling kind of sound, and seemed to be some pebbles flying through the air. Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. I was hitting the shoulder, and I think Billy was hitting Billy was hitting the shoulder. I was hitting in the head. Have you gotten any reports from that area? Any other reports of activity?
No, not from that exact area. Up in the wilderness area, not a thing. I mean, we've had that one north of Forksville, which was pretty doggone close, and that came in this year. That's not far from the Forksville Tavern, where we all sat down and broke bread together.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, can you
Yes, sir.
do you have a spot somewhere on the web where you post a lot of your sketches?
Matter of fact, it's at cryptosite.blogspot.com.
All right.
Cryptosite.
So it's www.crypto.
Site. SIGHT.
Yep.
Dot.
Yep.
Blogspot.com. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And
That way everyone that's tuning in live can hear it and maybe go to your site and check out your sketches.
And I tell some stories
idea,
there,
Daniel.
too.
You're right. Good idea,
stories.
Daniel.
Pardon me?
Daniel was the one that made the suggestion, so I
Thank you.
figured we'd let you give that out.
Yep.
All right.
We got a couple more questions, but I see we're down to 1 minute here, so I guess we're going to probably be running into overtime in a few minutes.
Yeah, we're going to run into overtime, so before we do that, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. We appreciate each and every one of you. We'll be back here next Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, so hope everyone can join us. We'll have another great guest on, and thanks everyone, and have a good night. Go ahead,
Thanks for
Mike.
having me. Thank you.
Yep. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Dave, thanks for being on the show.
Sure.
Okay, let's get to these last few questions here. It's not all in caps, but I'm assuming Grasshopper was asking this of Dave. it says, where is Old Route 22? Because I know he mentioned the sighting off of Old 22, but it's not in caps, but I'm pretty sure he was asking Dave that.
It parallels the new Route 22 across Chestnut Ridge between Blairsville and Crescent, PA. Just like old Route 40 sometimes parallels Interstate 70 as it travels across the United States. 22 and New 22 are kind of like side by side as they cross over the ridge between Blairsville and Crescent, PA is the exact area that I'm talking about.
Okay, so hopefully that'll help Grasshopper pin down the area you're talking about.
Sure, sure.
Then we had a question from one of your fellow members of the PBS. Not really a question. She's asking Kelly, Squatch Biatch 13. She's asking if Dave hasn't elaborated yet, can he tell the witness report of the woman that was feeding cats and how the large one got caught in the bushes?
Yeah, and I just did that, Kel, a little while ago. What's interesting about that, I think, is the fact that this lady took it with a grain of salt, and so did her sister and her brother, who is a constable there. And I know them from going to church with them at St. Aloysius in Dunbar years ago, ironically. And these ladies are so cool as far as, you know, being open-minded at their age. I hate to say that because I'm only like, 4 years shy of that. I just turned 60. They're like 65. So it's like I couldn't believe these gals. They were fantastic. They were so open-minded, and they took it with a grain of salt, and they thought it was the neatest thing in the world to finally understand what they think they were hearing all these times up in the mountains when they were growing up. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I think I think you have to observe the 10-year rule there, Dave. I think if you're within 10 years or a decade of somebody's age, I don't think you're allowed to use the saying at their age. I think that goes right out the window if you're within 10 years.
I respect that, Michael.
All right. Here we go. Then we have another question from Spin Dave. He's asking, is hair missing from the upper lip on these sightings? On these sightings?
Nobody said anything to that effect, and if it looks like there is on my sketches, it wasn't meant to be or intended, or else maybe I haven't really finished that sketch yet. And speaking of sketches, I don't know when it's going to happen, but it would take probably quite a bit of money from what I understand as far as trying to get limited edition prints out because of the new Giclée expensive method of making prints in a digital art form. But that's my intention one of these days, to try to get this whole series out in limited editions and, of course, try to make some money for the PBS, too.
Right. Good deal.
Okay. Okay. Spin Dave just put another comment in there just to clarify. He says, I wasn't criticizing the drawing. I was just curious if the Bigfoot was unable to grow a mustache.
I got him beat on that.
Spin Dave says, thanks for answering my questions. He said, I can't grow one either. My college buddies always bother me about it. All right. I think that did it. Let me just scroll back real quick, make sure I didn't miss
Kelly always teases me about looking like the Cletus McNabb cartoon character on the Sasquatch cartoon that friends of mine, Jewel and Blair Rustanio, starred in as far as their voiceover is concerned with John Rhys Davies and William Hurt. And she said, her little boy said when he saw this Cletus McNabb guy, it's like, there's Pappy Dave with a big mustache.
Oh, man.
Oh, Lord.
All right, that looks like all the questions.
Okay.
All right, well, it was great having you on the show, Dave.
I thank you for the opportunity.
Hopefully you'll be able to come back again, and we'll get you on again when y'all get another 24 sightings.
My fingers will be raw to the bone, you know.
I'm sure. Well, we appreciate it, Dave. Thanks so much for coming on. And
believe me, it was my pleasure. I thank you.
Hey,
right.
Dave.
Yes.
I wish I could have sympathy for you, but somehow I just can't find the a way to give you any sympathy for having too many damn sighting reports to follow up on. You know what I mean? Bill, you know what I mean? I just can't.
Yeah.
My heart doesn't go out to him, Dave.
I'll be out in the streets with my tin cup looking for more money to buy more sketching pencils. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Hey, God bless, and hope to see you and talk to you soon, either on Facebook or on the emails or directly somehow. And have yourself a... Listen, if I don't see you before Halloween, so what?
Yeah.
Okay?
we feel the same way, right, Billy? Feeling is mutual.
That's right. That's right. Good night, Dave.
All right.
Later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dave. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, that's another show we're wrapping up, Mike. So we'll be back at it again next Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. I hope you have a good rest of the week.
All right, you too, Billy, and thanks to everybody for listening, and we'll catch everybody next week.
All right, good night.
All right, good night.
A legend silently stalks the forest around the world, leaving giant man-like footprints in its wake. Skeptics scoff while the true believers search for the answers, and those who have seen it will never forget. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, Blog Talk Radio. Billy Willard and the Blog Squatcher present Sasquatch Watch Radio. Your hosts Billy Willard and Dee Donlin bring you 60 minutes of the latest news and information, newly discovered evidence, and interviews with those searching for the truth and those who have seen it. Do you believe? Want to know the truth? It's out there waiting. Monday nights, 9 p.m., Blog Talk Radio. Sasquatch Watch Radio. Sit down, hold on tight, get ready, because it is about to go down. blogtalkradio.com/Sasquatch Watch Radio.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.